be interested in it.
Yeah, no, definitely will. Yeah. So if history is to repeat itself, we'll have what, 40 minutes or 45 minutes tonight? Is that how it's going to work?
Well, it looks like it. Yes, I think probably. Let's see if it does. But yeah, 45 minutes is usually about the time we have problems. So you start. What you've been thinking about? What have been your thoughts?
What have I been thinking about? That's a good question. Been thinking a bit about work lately, to be honest with you. They've been asking me to take on more responsibility, which I was resisting. I mean, I sort of wasn't sure why I was resisting it. But I suppose the question that arose a little bit came early one morning. Not so much the question, the statement, I suppose, that came early one morning. It was something that we talked about some time ago about. So what sort of difference do you really want to make? And how does that show up and all that sort of stuff? And I'm not saying, at work makes that difference.
Yeah.
But it can make the difference if the context and the intention around it is such to do that, So it's the thing showing up at the moment. So I ask myself, so what's the opportunity here to make a difference?
And?
Well, I don't know yet.
Okay.
But just being open to it, I suppose, is one of the important steps, isn't it? So. Yes,
it is. Definitely. It's something that has opened up in front of you. And we were speaking previously about, positive and negative, to keep.
Yeah, that's right.
So something opens up, you look at it objectively. Yeah. So is it promotion with what you're doing now, or additional work?
More of sort of a supervisory development type role. But as I said, I was resisting it.
Yeah.
And when I sort of sat there and thought about it, I thought, well, why? Why am I resisting it? Why is that front and centre? And there was always lots of reasons, but they were just reasons. They weren't
excuses.
Yeah, excuses, or I don't know what they were really. They were lame. That's what they were.
Okay.
But I mean, it's just that classic case of trying to be objective, not trying to sort of lean into something or lean away from something just for the sake of whatever.
Right.
But it's trying to be completely objective about, okay, well, this has showed up, so what am I going to do about it?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And there may well be, times and that where, the decision could be, oh no, I'm not going to get involved and I'm just going to walk away from it. Well, then that's okay too, So.
Yeah. And you will know. I mean, you'll know when that time occurs.
And I think that's the important thing is having that level of awareness and openness that you do know, and if you don't know, that you wait there until you do.
Yeah. How long have you been working there now?
A couple of years now.
Yeah. Okay. So it almost sounds like a logical thing. You've got a lot of experience. People know you. You've built relationships.
Oh yeah, but I mean, what is logic anyway?
It's a thought. Okay. It's it's a thought, I guess. Yeah, I think logical, as in the mass consciousness that we are in. One assumes you work and then you get rewarded, and one of the rewards is more responsibility and some more money. Okay.
Is that a reward though? Is that really? That's what I've been asking myself. Is it a case of stepping back into a path that's well worn? I don't know.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. yeah,
But time will tell. Time will tell. And part of the discipline, not discipline, part of the process has been trying to just continue to be open to see what happens, you know. So
yeah,
and to be mindful enough to reflect on how I'm feeling and thinking about it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Or how you've been influenced.
Well, that's right. I mean, the issue is not a matter of, you know, can I do it? Well, of course you can do it. Is that should I do it?
Yeah,
And that's a completely different question. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Or back to that question you asked earlier, why should you do it?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the why question is much better, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm.
But
Get
you know,
into the why.
yeah, but intuitively, I just feel that just with the conversation right now, that you know, you're going to make people aware of a lot of things, and this is just another opportunity. Okay, through your behavior, through your being on the neutral path, and interacting with people, and you know, certainly people, I guess, under one, have all the mass consciousness type of emotions, and so yeah, and customers as well. Of course, you've given us a couple over the last few months of customer anger, and customers just not making any sense at all. And so you as a supervisor are able to handle that on behalf of everybody else in the shop, probably.
I think one of the big differences for me this time around too, with this, the reflection of it, is that in the past, you know, it would be a case of, am I going to do it or am I not going to do it? And if I say, okay, I'm going to do it, then you pursue it. Whereas this time it's a case of, I'll just see what happens.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So what are likely occurrences to happen?
In what sense?
Well, I mean, are they going to nag you? Are they going to forget that they even offered it to you?
Oh, no. I mean, there's a few people who've been talking to me about it and saying that I should be taking it on board seriously, and I value their opinion and I thank them for that.
Yeah.
But I think for me too, an important part of it is getting the context around it right too. It's like, well, if I'm going to do this, you know, I want to put an important emphasis around, you know, staff performance and development.
Yeah.
And about, you know, customer orientation and, you know, just some real sort of concrete context.
Yeah.
If those contexts aren't going to be there, then I'd probably decline it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah. So in other words, how you've been educated by IIB, you want to apply that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah. And if you sense that they won't back you on that, then
yeah, I don't want to occupy a role just for the sake of occupying it. It's not. I don't need that. Don't want that.
Yeah.
So we'll see what comes of it. We'll see what comes.
Yeah.
So what about you? What have you been up to?
Yeah, Sue and I got a email. We woke up to an email this morning, okay, from a lady who looks after the American guides. Quite recently took over that role. Very young, looks perhaps around 20 or so. And yeah, and they said, right, this we've drawn up a schedule of when classes will take place, and in July, and we've taken those classes and we've put them into 5 categories, Okay. And tell us, without any, other than just the categories and the time slot, tell us if you're, which ones you'll be available to if you were given them. Okay. So Sue and I went through, and every single class timetable would be between 10, our time here in Perth, our time from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Okay, and those are the only time slots that are available. Okay, and so in other words, if we tick in, if we get any classes, our life is going to change. We're going to be working at night time. Okay. And you know, we might have to, a lot of the classes are between midnight and 3 a.m. Okay. So I guess if we were fortunate enough to get a class, then you know, we just have to decide how best to handle it. I've never worked real shift work like right through the night, as it were, or having to, because you'd have to probably, I shouldn't imagine you, if you were fortunate enough to get a class, that you wouldn't get more than one class in a 24-hour period. Okay.
Yeah.
So you might have to wake up at 3 a.m. and do a class. Okay. And that would be a new experience for both of us, actually, but particularly for myself, because I've always been quite disciplined with myself to get good nighttime sleep when the sun goes down. Okay, and I've written about it, and you know, doesn't matter, you know, how early you get up, as long as you get that core sleep. So we'll wait and see what comes of that. And
so are they offering you many classes in comparison to what you have now, or
they're not offering us anything?
Okay.
Absolutely nothing. Okay. They're saying, you know, if we did offer you, which of the 5 categories would you be interested in? Okay. You know, of the 5, you know, some of my existing classes would fall into 3 of them. Okay. And Sue as well, but a different 3. Well, 2 the same, but the third one different. So then, you know, we don't know what classes we're going to do. Okay. If they said, right, you can have, you know, 3 o'clock on Thursday morning, 3 a.m. at Thursday morning, we don't know what's going to happen. Whether they're going to tell us what to do. I doubt it, because I don't think they have the capability to be able to do that at this stage. Or they'll just say, right, that's your slot, and as long as it's within the category, let's say wellness, okay, is one of the categories. As long as it's in wellness, do your thing, submit it to us, and we'll approve it or not. That's how I assume it's going to be. They haven't said as much. They've said, again, very, very little. Okay. But I'm quite upbeat about it. I'm not, as we discussed the other day, this is what's confronting us, and I'm just going along with the flow. Okay, we've ticked what we've got to tick, and they're also resorting to, in some instances, from an hour class to a 30-minute class, and others are 15-minute classes. Okay. We have no idea what you'll get paid for a 15-minute class, because you're probably going to have to spend the same amount of time researching to bring it to a 15-minute class, I assume. Okay.
It's a very short class, isn't it? I mean, what do you do in 15 minutes?
Absolutely. Okay. And it's something that Sue and I ask ourselves. But, you know, they haven't explained it. We just see it on the schedule. Okay. And
do they currently have 15-minute classes?
No. the Indians do have some 30-minute classes. Okay, 30 minutes is still, I can understand that. But you know, when I see how much time we have to spend to produce a 1-hour class, you know, it varies. But you know, you're probably looking for about 6 hours of preparation, research. You know, research. Okay, and then coming up with information. And I guess that 6 hour could be cut down to possibly 3 or 4 hours, depending how methodical you are. And you know, Sue and I have been very methodical in our class. We really, and they not get set up. They haven't appreciated it, but certainly the learners have. The people who come into the classes. Okay. You know, I had 300 in my class today, and oh my goodness, I took advantage of something because I sort of, you know, how can I explain this? The topic was inside pyramids. Okay, and so I took my book partly, and really, you know about it because I told you when I was reading it constantly and so, and I started speaking about, you know, all the things that the archaeologists don't talk about. They deny, you know, that the pyramids are maybe 35,000 years old, and you know, there are all sorts of new tunnels underneath. That all the tunnels in the Giza pyramid are all pointing directly to celestial star systems, and so on and so on. Okay, and that they discovered these enormous big boxes under the pyramids that weigh, I mean, like 50 tons, and they don't know what it is. Okay, they speculate stupidly. Now I tell them what people know that it's about. Okay, because and so it was energy storage systems. Okay, and like a battery, I guess. Okay. In that sense. So yeah, I enjoyed myself and they enjoyed it. Okay. Oh my goodness, did they enjoy it? They interacted and said, you must get set up, do some more of these. Okay, do some more of these. Okay, we want more. And yeah, and another thing that has changed is that most of the people in your class are in the lounge, that they call, and they watch it from the lounge where they don't have to participate in the class. Okay, they just observe, and they can put things on the chat and so on, but they can't talk. So you know, I had 18 in class, okay, but 300 in the lounge. So and all you need is you know, 1 or 2 people in the class that are going to interact with you. Then it's worthwhile for the guide. So anyway, we don't know what classes we're going to give, okay, and how often we're going to be given a class. So
well, they'll need to make some fairly prompt decisions, won't they? Because I mean, July's not that far away, is it?
They've promised us they'll let us know on the 27th of June. Okay. And obviously this is a major changeover period. It appears that
that's next Monday, isn't it? 27th, I think. Yeah.
I'm not sure when it is, but the Indian market are somehow seem to have their own. It's only the American guides and ourselves that have been given these things. So it's basically just 2 markets at the moment: the American market and the Indian market. And the Indians are allowed to participate in the American market, but I'm not sure if the Americans are allowed to participate in the Indian market, because the Indians have an overabundance of guides, and of course they speak all sorts of different languages as well. So yeah, that's where I'm at the moment. And I'm moving forward with my own business and getting some test things done, and some website has changed again to accommodate that. And I've been re-looking at my database, and I've been creating new emails and new articles to all around to move forward. So everything is fine. I'm not down in the dumps. If I sometimes, when I think of what's going to happen between sort of the end of June and maybe August, if we didn't get enough classes, we would be in financial trouble. Okay, but that's only if we don't get classes and so on. Sue is looking to teach and at a school, as I told you, and she, we've got school holidays coming up, so they won't need relief teachers during the school holidays.
Yeah.
So, but she's still got to get that permission from the department, and she seems to be well on the way to doing that now. So
Oh, that's good.
that's very good, very good indeed. Yeah. So, yeah, I think the way I feel, I'm feeling okay. I'm feeling really not swayed one way or the other, because I don't know, this neutral path. When you're conscious of it, it does make a difference. Because whatever coming to you is either one path or the other path. Okay. And it's part of our reality in this particular domain, and as long as we don't go overboard one way or the other, and then and I seem to be okay with that. I don't seem to be having an issue one way or the other way. Yeah.
Well, it's good.
Yeah, I sense that too.
So what else have you been thinking about?
Well, I've been continuing reading that book, The Secrets of Life, by Moya. And been, the last time I read it was probably 2 or 3, no, maybe 4 years ago. And so a lot of it, when I read it, it's like, yes, I remember that now. I'm not conscious of it. He, in that book, he really calls a spade a spade. He doesn't hold back on exactly the type of environment that we're living in, that he can see that we can't see. Okay. And how important, in actual fact, our thoughts are to just disrupt in the environment around us. Okay. And how these entities that are around us just take whatever it is that we are, the energy in thoughts, and are using it. Okay. So that's like close down here, and from all different angles. I've been reading about things that we call gnomes and other things that we've been, we grew up in fairy books type things. What are those trods or something? I think that used to live under bridges in our fairy books.
Trogs, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And that these are so close to our reality, just out of sight. So yeah, it began in quite a lot of detail about that, and that's that's been interesting too. And that the person who controls all these entities, okay, that all different names that we, as I say, we've heard a lot of the names in our books, fairy books, when we grew up and so on. They're all controlled or go into us and are focused by, let's just, for the sake of the conversation, call it a person that lives on Venus. Okay, so Venus actually controls this dimension. Okay, which is just out of sight, but they can, sometimes stumble into our sight. But
isn't it interesting? Because Venus is one of the brightest stars in the sky.
Yeah. Yes, it is. And Moya has said in other writings that when the Earth falls off its axis, okay, then everybody, the whole process of the schooling that we're doing here will be taken over by Venus until Armageddon. So and I guess that's like the lower astral that we're talking about. It's so yes, Venus is an interesting planet, and I don't understand why NASA and Elon Musk and China and Russia and so on are all thinking about Mars, and they've gone to Mars. Okay, but having said that, sorry, I'm digressing now.
No good.
Okay, they found some really interesting photographs just recently on Mars. Okay, I mean. And I'm not. And what happens is, NASA has tens of thousands of photographs. Okay, so certain people, I don't know whether they're inside NASA and are looking at these, or whether NASA puts them out and doesn't look closely enough at them, and there are other people who can enlarge these photographs enormously to see things that they can't see. Okay. But I've seen some of these photographs, which are not easily available on the internet, I must tell you. Anyway, let's not go there. That's another digression. But, very clearly, a man-made pyramid, okay, or a Martian-made pyramid, either that, okay, an entranceway into the mountain, okay, very clear, and animals of some description in herds, whether they are rats or whether they are buffalo, you just can't see. But they're actually coming out from inside Mars, okay, out and walking in their herds, in their masses, in their swarms, or whatever, okay, and they appear to be sort of the shape of a buffalo or a rat at a distance, okay, and so many others. I mean, they've got an image there of stuff that was sculptured out of the mountain, a snake's head, okay, very clearly, a snake as on Earth, okay, head there, and a carving. Anyway, there are lots of different photographs. So that I brought that up in my class as well. They were fascinated with that. No, I haven't brought it up in my class. That was the pyramid one. They were fascinated. Tomorrow, I'm doing what I'm telling you now. I'm going to do tomorrow. Okay, and so yeah, that's. So yeah, that's what I've been reading. Those are my thoughts and my research, and I'm not going to give up my research one way or another. Okay, it's just it's a path that has been laid down, and unless it deviates for some reason and somehow, I will continue it. And yeah, if one person gets a benefit, then I'm blessed.
True. Yeah, so true.
So, have you been listening to any more books?
Yeah, I'm listening to a book at the moment. The name of the book is called A Single Blade of Grass. And basically it's a story of this, well, I suppose it's like his life story. This Englishman who grew up in a unusual family. They're sort of middle class, I guess. And, suffered a divorce and all sorts of things along the way. But he's suffered a health condition all of his life of really bad skin condition. What do they call it?
Eczema.
Eczema. So he's suffered terribly with it, and that's always a sort of a reoccurring theme through different parts of his life. And that, but he studies Zen along the way, and it was interesting because he was talking about, there's a certain offshoot of Zen which is renowned for the koans, the unsolvable problems.
Yeah.
And it was interesting listening to his take on it because he's been doing a lot of these koans and the way that he describes them is he says they're almost like a piece of software, is that it's not so much about the words or the sounds of the koan. It's just the fact that you use them to, his word is to contemplate. So they put a focus of contemplation, but it has nothing to do with the meaning of, the phrases and that they use as the koan. And basically what he says is that when you contemplate on the koan or aspects of the koan, he said it's like activating software. He said things open up within inside of you, which I thought was really interesting way of transmission of a spiritual pathway is through, by following these koans, just by contemplating on them, that over time, some people they happen quickly, other people it takes longer, that it opens something up within you.
Right. That's very interesting that you bring it up, because part of what I'm reading now, Moya speaks about contemplation. Okay. In this particular book, but he just mentions it like in a paragraph, and he talks about the dangers of meditation. And
seems to be a reoccurring theme, that it's important to put a context around it through the contemplation. Right. Otherwise, it can take you all sorts of weird places.
Yeah, and these entities and these energies and things that I mentioned earlier, they get involved then, okay? And you really allowing them to enter and making it easier for them to actually through your body and so on. So, whereas contemplation is absolutely solid and
directed. Yeah.
And absolutely, it's directed. Yeah. So you're not leaving any openings or any gaps or anything.
No.
So I don't know if he mentioned about what they, when they just contemplate on the koan itself. Okay, and that's
Well, he doesn't talk about the koans in any detail because that's part of the practices that you don't talk about them.
Yeah.
Because it's an experiential thing, So
yeah. Moya also doesn't talk about what you contemplate on. Not in his books, but certainly in the meetings we've been with him. Then he's mentioned, things like, something of nature. Okay. Be it a plant or a flower or if you want to, then just contemplate God, okay, or the Spirit of God. And I tend to go that way more than something like a flower.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
No, it's a fascinating area, and just the way that his experience has been, that as he's followed this practice for quite a few years now, how it changes the way that he thinks, and it changes him physiologically, and tends to have, the way he sort of describes it as a much more profound calmness about things.
Yeah.
Which means that he doesn't react like he used to.
Yeah. Yeah.
So and just the way that at different stages of his life he'd have these profound experiences, and they would come unannounced, and when they happen they're incredibly profound, but that unless you continue to do certain things, then they just pass. So.
Mm. Mm.
Mm.
Yeah. I guess with you and with myself, I think that seems to apply. We don't, things arrive, and we allow them to arrive, and
but you can't grasp a hold of them.
no, and you mustn't try to.
Yeah.
See,
yeah.
For argument's sake, using the context of what we've spoken about today, is that you've been offered something, and I'm also job-wise in a similar situation, or in a job situation. Now, it would be wrong. If we had to contemplate on, either you contemplate on the promotion that they want to give you, or if I contemplate on, developing my business, or contemplate on getting classes from Get Set Up, that would be like a manipulation.
Yeah.
Okay, there would be an intent. You're then working with the right-hand path, the white path, the positive path. Okay, and that would bring what you want. Okay, but it would also then the repercussions of karma, because karma balances it up.
Yeah. Well, and you're right. I mean, it brings what you want, but it may not be what you need.
That's right. Absolutely. That's well put. Yeah. Perfect. Exactly. And so, we are, you and I are aware that let it come, and you are moving forward. You are aware of it, and of what you've been offered. I'm aware that I must carry on doing my research. That's my path. If it takes me to a new business, that's great. Okay. And open up that path, but don't go putting vision boards down and
no, that's
and
path to misery.
contemplate on the success. Don't contemplate on the success of what you envisage will be the success or the outcomes of it.
It's quite peculiar, isn't it? And I'm not sure how much time I'm going to have, but it is quite peculiar in my mind when I think about it, that a lot of this sort of vision boards and manifest your future and all that sort of stuff, it's underpinned by an arrogance that somehow I know best. So,
but it's just the reality that we live in. Okay. And it works. Okay. So unless you are spiritually aware, okay, it's the way to do it. Come on, I used to train it decades ago, in business training. And people still, right to this day, the people in my classes that have been, they're encouraged to do it, and it is just so interesting that somehow you and I and many others just don't go that road anymore. Don't go that path anymore.
No.
Even though it works. Okay.
Well, that's right, because it's as you say, it's not the pathway to happiness by any stretch of the imagination.
That's right.
It's self-inflicted. Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fascinating. It's funny how your views sort of evolve over time too, isn't it? And I guess it's based on experience. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good thing, though. It's for sure.
It is.
You know, the expanding of that awareness. You know, it's such an important thing.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, you sort of feel so, like a sadness towards those people who are entrenched in the single view.
Mm.
You know, like, for example, like I turned the TV on there this evening, about half an hour or so before our call. It was just like news. And because of, like the state budget was just handed down recently,
Yeah.
all of the people who are complaining the loudest and the longest and, crying that they're the victim are the people who can most afford it.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
You get these people like, representing the mining companies saying, this is outrageous and they've broken their promise and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, who cares?
Absolutely. It's been so interesting listening to some of these budget talks. It's just, you're right. It's hilarious. But
and so driven by self-interest. It's just incredible, unashamedly driven by self-interest.
yeah, yeah,
Why would you expect the mining industry to help fund, public health? Why would you expect that?
yeah.
It's outrageous. Oh, is it? Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
But I guess that's the stupidity of that sort of logic, though, isn't it? Or the insanity of that sort of logic. Where it's all about me.
Mm, mm.
And anything that impedes my pathway, is a terrible thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Certainly not going to be a sustainable approach to those industries, is it? So.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's going to be very interesting watching how the global effects of mining, currency, is going to unfold.
Well, there's a big battle raging there, isn't there? Because cryptocurrency is going to.
There we are. You've gone off. You're frozen now at 43 minutes. So about the same as usual. So if I'm still recording, thank you very much if you're listening to this, and we'll call it a day. So goodbye.